Hey, welcome to my channel. I want to do a video here today regarding does your swing resemble the best elite players in the world? Here on the left, we have Erin Koffel. She's just an amazing player, one of the leading home run hitters this year for softball. If you pull up her numbers, she's just amazing, has a lot of power. Her mechanics resemble pretty much what you see in the most elite MLB players. And that's my goal always as a coach, to kind of get players, whether I'm working with a young lady or a young man, to resemble the most elite MLB players in the world. Their swings are truly the goal, in my opinion, for where a parent or a coach should try to get their softball players to achieve those kind of mechanics. They produce tremendous bat speed, tremendous power. So I'm going to do this video for you to kind of give you a comparison of what Erin's doing on the left, and a very elite player, compared to this young lady on the right, who her mechanics are a little subpar. And I'm going to kind of give you kind of some pointers on what I would do to fix it. Okay. Now, as we go through this right here, you're going to see they're both a setup. And again, the lady on the right has a pretty nice setup. And again, Erin, she's pretty nice. I mean, very just relaxed. Okay. You want to have a lot of flexion in your arms, pretty much a vertical bat. Both of them are doing that. And a lot of players that I work with, when they come and work with me, or if I'm doing online video analysis, not most, but I say a lot of players have very nice setups. Where the problem starts to occur is once they start to get into the gather. Okay, that's when you start to see the problems occur. Now, watch what's going on here with Erin on the left. Now you can see, just pay attention to her tailbone. Okay, as she starts to get into the gather, and you can see as she starts to move forward, her tailbone is kind of rotating towards the pitcher. Okay, as she starts to get into her toe touch. Okay, again, this is really important, because what happens with a lot of players is as they start to get into their swing, they pretty much do what the player on the right is doing. Now pay attention to what's going on with her tailbone. As she starts to lift her legs, she starts moving towards the catcher more and more and more and more. I mean, she's literally moved probably a good 4 inches towards the catcher. Now, what happens when you do that, you're adding extra frames. Therefore, you're going to have to make up the time and go back pretty much where you should have been. And that's going to cause problems when you start facing elite pitchers. Okay, so your sequence has to be really working very well. And as you can see here with Erin on the left, she does a great job. As she starts to get into her swing, she hardly has any movement going back, and her tailbone starts to move towards the pitcher. Now, one thing I would recommend for you to do, as you lift your front leg, I would feel like your tailbone is kind of rotating towards the pitcher. Okay, another thing that's going on right here with Erin, pay attention with what she's doing. As she starts her forward move, her top hand now is going to start, okay, this is important. Her top hand is going to start pulling back, okay, not her arms, just her top hand is pulling back as she starts to get it pointing kind of palm down. Okay, so right now she's getting into her toe touch right here. So she's at her toe touch, and you can see that her hands, let me just change the color here, I mean the arrow here, and I'll change the color so you can see this a little more clearly. Her hands pretty much went from kind of being like this to being down like this. Okay, and this is what you want. That produces the back elbow to work up, back, and behind you as you get into your toe touch. So again, watch what's going on with her hands. You can see here that her hands right now are kind of facing at this point right here. They're kind of pointing like this. Okay, that's where they're pointing. And as she starts to move forward into her forward move, into her toe touch, as her hands start to go down, her palm down, spilling the cup, that causes the lead elbow to work up, back, and behind her, pulling back with that top hand. I call it top hand torque, and that produces a lot of power. It produces a lot of coil, a lot of torque. Now you can see here what the player on the right did. Her palm right now at this toe touch is pointing in this way. Okay, and you can see there's a big difference as far as what's going on with the bat. At toe touch, Aaron's bat is pointing in this direction, where this young lady here, her bat is kind of pointing somewhere out in this area right here. Now, if we go one more frame here and we put her into heel plant, now you can see that Aaron's bat is still pointing pretty much in the direction of the catcher, where this young lady here, her bat is pointing pretty much almost to the first baseman. Okay, this right here creates a lot of problems with power. It creates a lot of problems with just sequence. There's just a lot of ramifications for not doing it correctly. Okay, now what I would recommend if your child is doing this, which is very common on the right, just like I just mentioned, as you start moving forward, I would get your top hand like you're spilling a cup, just tilt it down like you see here on the left, and then from there, I would immediately, as you get into your hip rotation, I would get your top hand while your hands stay back so that your palm is now facing upward like this, okay? Upward like this. If you have the pullback, okay, if you do the pullback and you do what I just said, your hands are going to stay very nicely tight around the corner of your deltoid and your hands will not drop. It's very important that you keep your hands back as you get into your heel plant and you continue the pullback as you get into your heel plant immediately. The right palm goes from palm down to palm up. Okay, now look, watch what's going on the right. What this player is doing on the right, as she gets into her toe touch, she's not applying that technique. And because of that, watch what's going on with the hands. Now, the hands on the player on the left, Aaron right here, the elite player here with the elite swing, her hands working right around the corner of the deltoid. Okay, her lead arm and her shoulders are in exactly the same plane if you're looking at it from the pitcher's view. With this player right here, you can see here, her shoulders are right here and her hands have dropped way down here, okay? So her hands have dropped tremendously down here, and that's going to create a lot of problems where the bat is going to be kind of slapping through the ball. It's going to be like a very horizontal swing instead of the bat being kind of vertical and being able to launch the ball with tremendous power over the fence if you have the power to do it, okay? It's going to allow you to do what Aaron's doing here. Watch what she's doing. This is going to allow you to hit with a very high slugging percentage. Now, this one right here, she tatered this one right over the fence, okay? And look at the launch angle on this right here. Look at this. This ball just took off. This was just beautiful right there, just how her mechanics are just so elite. Again, this is what you see in Major League Baseball. And you can see here, again, she goes from palm down to palm up immediately. That causes, again, the elbow to stay behind her. As you can see here, and by the elbow staying behind her, you can see here that her elbow stays behind her hands as she's swinging. This is going to give her just tremendous bat speed through the ball. Okay, when you start losing power is when your hands, your lead elbow starts to kind of get like this underneath your hands, where your hands are over here. Okay, and that's bat drag, okay? And you can see here how this young lady's bat is kind of dragging through right here, okay? Because she doesn't have the pullback. Now, she really doesn't have bat drag, that her hands are dropping. And again, watch how she swings. It's kind of a slap. Look on the right. This is very common. It's like a slap. There's no power in that, okay? Now, again, with the player on the left, with Erin Koffel, watch what she's doing. She's not slapping at the ball at all. What she's doing as she gets into her heel plant right here, what's going on with her hips are rotating just beautifully right here. Her hips, she's rotating with her core, and she's going to let her lead shoulder. Everything's going to rotate, which is going to give her tremendous power. It's more of a body swing instead of an arm swing. Therefore, as the palm goes up immediately, the lead elbow goes up to the height of the mouth. She hits two and through the ball with a beautiful extension. Now, if you look at the difference between both these players' extension, and again, if you're working with your child or if you're working with a player, this is all cause and effect. Now, please give me a like if you're enjoying what you're listening to. And also, too, you can get a hold of me at 209coach.com. I have information there as far as my services if you're ever interested with working with me. But back to the video. it's real important that, again, your swing resembles what the best players in the world are doing. And it's unfortunate that a lot of coaches out there do not understand the cause and effect of what is causing what the player on the right's doing. Now, this young lady on the right, she probably has been playing for quite a few years, okay? But you can see here that there's a big difference with the player on the left and the player on the right, and it's very obvious that the player on the left is going to produce far greater power, okay? Far greater power. Now, again, just in a nutshell, what I would highly recommend for you, if you're doing this on the right or your child's doing it, just have them set up just like you see the player on the right. Again, nice setup. And then from there, as you start moving forward with your top hand, keep your hands back, start pulling back with your top hand as you get into your toe touch. And as you're doing that, have the palm facing down, almost like you're spilling a cup. And then once you get into your heel plant, okay, once you get into your heel plant with your hands back, okay, this is crucial, with your hands back, as your hips are starting to rotate, immediately let your palm be facing up as your hands stay back, okay? So in other words, you don't want your hands creeping out here. You want them staying back like you see here with Aaron right here. This is beautiful. Again, you don't want your hands look on the right. You don't want your hands dropping down. You want your hands up here, and you want the palm facing up at this area, just like you see with Aaron. And then from there, what I would do, as you're doing that, let the lead elbow, now she got a kind of a high pitch right here, and her elbow had to work a little higher than normal, but she did a beautiful job of putting the lead elbow should be working up to the height of the mouth always. And I want you, if you're doing this, exaggerate the barrel below the hands, okay? In other words, I don't want you with a flat bat like this. And the reason you're having a flat bat is because the elbow is down here, creates the hands to be here. So again, it creates kind of a slap swing, okay? Where you see with Erin, again, look at her on the left. If you're doing what I just said with the palm down, then immediately palm up with the lead elbow working up to the height of the mouth. Just let your arms extend just like this fully. And if I was working with your child, I would just have them just hit balls like this off the tee where they master this extension where everything is just exploding straight up just like this with the barrel below the hands. Look at this, full extension, and the barrel is still below the hands. And if we go one more frame on the left, watch what happens here. Look at that extension right there. Everything is just going like this is a bomb right here. And the reason why is the cause effect of just having a beautiful mechanics. And if you look at her swing, and this is something I talk about with my students all the time, hitting off a front axis. Okay, this creates tremendous rotation where you have the logo, you have the belt buckle, and the shoelaces should all be lined up. Okay, this creates a rotation in your swing, a beautiful rotation where everything is just beautifully like just rotating off a front axis, gives you tremendous speed when you do that. Now, if you look at the player on the left, as she gets to full extension right here, if you look at her logo and you look where her belt buckle is and where her shoelaces is, I call this, what I always call this is, I just call it a jackknife, like a jackknife. You're kind of swinging like this. When you're swinging like the player on the right, you're depriving yourself of having a very fluid, efficient rotation through the ball. Again, guys, thanks for watching. Again, 209coach.com. Get a hold of me. Please give me a like. I hope you learned something. If you did, please give me a like, and I really appreciate your viewership. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much.